So, the long series of emails between me and a man named Scott Coffin, an interesting name to remember, started in early 2014. And he had this deep Southern accent, this deep Texas accent that I really grew to enjoy. So I'll be reading it in his delightful Texan accent. Dear Mr. Upshur, I greatly appreciate your interest in my case. You see, I have reason to believe that there is some very shady things happening in my pizzeria. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's called Fredbear's Family Fun. Please check it out. It's in Austin, Texas. In fact, I'd be willing to fly you out there. Just talk to me some more. My phone number's down below. I encourage you, please do your research on this place. It's Fredbear's Family Fun in Austin, Texas. Do your research and you'll see its dark history. And please come back to me because I need to work with you to expose these horrible people. Thank you. And I responded with, all right, you have my attention, Mr. Coffin. And I did. I started researching Fredbears. And what I found was disturbing. Many years ago, in 1983, Fredbear's officially opened. In fact, it was a franchise restaurant. There was one in Austin, one in Houston, and there was one in Dallas and one in Galvez. And you see, it started off pretty good. It had the 80s mascot playing the 80s pop music, and it was very Chuck E. Cheese-like. Yeah, very Chuck E. Cheese-like. Until in February of 1987, something occurred called the Bite of 87. And it happened in Houston in one of their more modern themed restaurants. And apparently one of their robot security animatronics went a little haywire on an employee, and the robot bit his head off. And amazingly, this guy survived because it only damaged the front of his head, called the frontal lobe. And amazingly, he survived. But yeah, that was a very, very devastating event for them. And in Austin, Texas, in 1993, there was a horrible shooting that happened right near the Fredbear's family location in Austin, Texas. And the shooter's last words were, "The bunny made me do it," right before he took his own life. And wait, it got even creepier. In 2009, 5 children went missing at that location in Austin, Texas. And I found this all from newspaper clippings on the internet and some fact-checked, don't worry, they were definitely fact-checked, Reddit posts. And also some weird guy named Patrick covering this on YouTube. And I did some more digging, and it turns out, yeah, this place is definitely real, and, well, even though I'm not a ghost YouTuber, the conspiracy theory that the company knew something about this, well, that's a theory people tend to believe. So I wrote Scott back saying, all right, Scott, I'll do it. And I ordered me a plane ticket from San Marquis International Airport, and I had a layover in Charlotte, and I flew all the way to Austin, Texas. And it was in the late afternoon when I landed, and I went to go meet Mr. Scott Coffin, and he was a big fella, a rather enormous fella that I don't think I could have missed from a mile away. He was real tall, about 5'10" or 5'11", and he had a real big belly. You couldn't miss a big belly like that. Like, you could know that belly from anywhere. And he also had red curly hair and a big red beard. And honestly, the guy, even though he was over 300 pounds, he really was just a big teddy bear. And he said, and he came up to me and said, you're Ethan Upshur. And I said, yeah, I'm Ethan Upshur. How'd you know? And he said, because I watch your YouTube videos. I saw you. And I said, oh, good. And he said, oh, am I glad that you're wearing your brown leather jacket. Come on, let's go. We don't have much time. And he grabbed my arm and he started pulling me towards his car. And he drove a little sedan, a little green sedan, and he drove me over to the location in Austin, which was about 45 minutes away from the airport. And on the way there, he filled me in on what was going on. And he said, all right, okay, Ethan, the man I want you to investigate is, well, he's kind of like my boss. His name is William. He's a weirdo. Everybody knows he did it. He just has this strange presence around him. You just have to meet him to know what I'm talking about. He's just a bad seed. Huh. And the more he talked, the more I was like, okay, I have got to investigate this pizza place. And we pull up into the parking lot, and it's on the outskirts of a big mall, and it looks like a Chuck E. Cheese, you know. That's what it looks like. Only instead of a big mouse head, it's got a big bear sign on it, a cartoon bear sign, and it was a brown bear with a black hat. I'll never forget that look. And so me and Scott, we walk in, and I was a little bit worried that two guys were walking in without any kids, even though this was clearly a kid's place. But the host / waiter / prize counter guy named Matt, he didn't seem to mind. And he had a real light voice. And he had a real can-do attitude, a voice and an attitude you don't ever forget. And he sat us down and said, so, you want your normal? And Scott said, well, my normal, just so you know, Ethan, is a root beer float with vanilla ice cream. And yes, I do. And Matt looked over to me and said, so, what brings you to Austin? And I said, well, I'm doing some investigating. And then Matt leaned into me and said, well, I I have my theories. And I'll just say that. And he walked off to get our drinks. And Scott said, yes, now, in the words of you kids, Matt, he knows what's up. He knows what's up. And then Matt came back with our drinks, our root beer floats, and the root beer floats, they had little sprinkles on them, and it was so good. And then Scott, he ordered his usual pizza, which, I mean, he didn't ask me what I want. I thought that was kind of rude, but okay. He ordered a cupped pepperoni pizza with sausages and beef bits, thick crust, light cheese, extra sauce. And then after that, Scott beckoned me to come forward to this disco dance floor in the middle of this weird place. And there stood that bear on the sign outside in his full-bodied, whatever you want to call him, his full-bodied presence. And on his left side stood a big purple bunny with a bow tie and what appeared to be a bass guitar. Okay. I actually used to play bass guitar in a jazz band, but okay. And on his right side was this big duck. She had, or I don't even know if it was a she, but it was a yellow robot, and it had duck feet and a beak, you know? And dark eyes, dark beady eyes, and it was weird. And behind a curtain came out this red fox wolf thing with a black eye patch and a hook for a hand. And he started getting on the drums. And he said, and Scott looked over at me and said, if you think that's creepy, check this out. Hey, Sydney, play Last Train to London by Electric Light Orchestra. And the DJ, who evidently was named Sydney, put the song on. And Bonnie started with that really cool bass solo that's in Last Train to London by Electric Light Orchestra. And then, out of nowhere, that fox started running, sprinting from the stage all the way to this pirate-themed bandstand that was on the other side of the restaurant near the salad bar. What? And the way he ran, it was just unnatural. Like, he would put his knees straight up in the air and, like, go do that over and over and over. And I'll never forget that creepy sound that they made. Yeah, it was creepy. And those robots with their lifelike eyes and their weird jaw-dropping expressions, they were just off-putting, very off-putting. So we sit back down and we chewed our pizza a little while, and to be fair, the pizza, it was pretty okay. It was pretty okay. It was better than that frozen box pizza, but it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't gourmet or anything, but it was okay. And then he said, all right, Mr. Upshur, my way of saying thanks is if you just do this one investigation with me tonight, I will give you $120 for this one night. And honestly, I was a little bit disappointed by $120. And I think Scott could see that too. And he said, I'll buy you dessert too. I'll buy you dessert. And I've already spoken to the missus, and she'll let you stay on our couch. She don't mind. And the kids won't mind either. And yeah, I could tell this guy didn't have much money. So I said, all right, okay, I'll take the $120. And also, I'll take that dessert you said you were going to get me. And he said, oh, yeah, can do. And he bought me the Fredbear's dessert pizza. And oh, that was good. It was this chocolate pie crust with like a cookie crust on top of that. And this like chocolate icing pudding substance with a little bit of whipped cream on top. Oh my God, it was so good. I can see why Scott likes the food here so much. And then after that, it was about time to close down. And then Matt came by and started ushering all the kids out because it was about almost 10 o'clock at night. And then Scott said, wait a minute. What day is it? And I said, Tuesday. And he said, then who'll be coming? Who will be coming? William. He's going to be here. And sure enough, we walked back towards the stage. And behind the stage is this dressing room area full of like robot skeletons and costumes, and in that and behind that stage room was a door that said exit. And then we heard the faint buzz of a beamer pulling up to that door and then stopping, and we heard a door open, and we heard a key shuffling, and the exit door came open, and it revealed a tall man with white hair. And he was a very pale man with a blank expression on his face. And he had a purple jacket, and he wore black pants with a sorry, I'm getting my colors mixed up. A yellow patch on his jacket. And he also had a purple shirt underneath his purple jacket. And he had dark eyes and a stone cold stare. Scott, what are you doing back here? And who is this? And he said, well, Mr. Boss Man, this here is a friend. And I was just showing him around, you know. I'm just trying to make sure he knows what's going on here. And then that creepy old man looked at me and said, you don't need to know what's going on here. Get the hell out of here. And, yep, that's when I had my suspicions on full blast about this guy. And, yeah, me and Scott both walked away. And then Scott said, all right, Mr. Ethan, I'll tell you what you gotta do tonight is you gotta come back with me to the security office. Come on. And so we walked down the creepiest hallway with a checkered colored floor and little kids' drawings and newspaper clippings on the wall. It was just creepy and run down. And he takes out a key and opens a door and leads me into the security office. It was a small room with a window, a door, a desk with a camera monitor on it, and it had a locker in the back. And in that back corner was a giant Freddy head. It was a big, giant, brown bear head with a black hat on top. And you could see through the eyes. And, well, this is the YouTuber me coming out. And he said, alright, there is a GoPro inside that Freddy's head. And that is where you will come in. And I said, what? And he said, all right, Ethan. So every night what I do here is I monitor the security cameras. And I check on the animatronics. But every night they move. And they didn't move before the kids went missing. And I know they have something to do with that. And I said, hold on, Scott. I am not a ghost. I am not a ghost YouTuber, okay? That's not what I do. I expose people. And Scott interrupted me loudly and said, listen to me, Ethan. I think that William is hiding the bodies of the children inside the animatronics. And every night, he puts some kind of embalming chemical in there so they don't stink too much. I know he's doing that, Ethan, but I just can't prove it. But with you here, you could help me. Please, Ethan. And I knew he didn't have another check to give me, so I said, okay, I'll do it. And he just about cried thanking me. And then he's like, okay, now that guy, he likes to hang around here at night, so we got to catch him in the act. And that Fredbear helmet or mask, head, whatever you want to call it, it's got a GoPro in there, and it is recording it all. And I've got it rigged. I've got this security system rigged. So on the security monitor, everything that we can see on this computer is live streaming to my phone. And with your permission, I want to get this live stream to your channel. And I was like, okay, well, I just need to explain to my fans what's going on. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I thought, wait, what the hell do I say to them? Like, we're investigating a haunted kids' pizzeria with animatronics? And Scott said, yeah, that's what you need to say. And I was about to tell him to fuck off at first, but then I was just like, you know what? Sure, why not? And I started live streaming on my phone and making sure that my audience could see everything that was going on. Everything that Scott was seeing, my audience was seeing live. So, if something went wrong, people would know what happened. And I started working with the camera that was on I'm just going to call it a Fred head. That's what I'm going to call it, a Fred head. So I started working on it, and I also made sure that was streaming onto my channel. And when we had enough footage, I was going to upload this all. Although we didn't get that many viewers when we first started, because for the first hour, it was literally just watching the camera pan right and left. And those 3 animatronics would be on stage, and Foxy would be behind the curtains in his shit-themed bandstand. And then right, left, right, left. And then Scott would go between cameras, and we did that for like an hour straight, and it just got boring after a little while. And I said, "What? Okay, Scott, is this all we're gonna do tonight? Am I just gonna be watching you do your job?" And he said, "What? No, waiting." Sorry, I forgot to do my Scott voice. "Waiting is half the job, Ethan." And I believed him. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something at Foxy's Pirate Cove. Stop! Did you see it? The curtain. It moved. Right there. Wait. Right there. The curtain's moving. Wait, are they supposed to do that at night? And he said, well, yeah, they sometimes do it at night. And then the hook hand came out and slowly started peering. It started drawing out closer and closer. And I could see that fox's one shiny eye and his one golden tooth and a sick smile. And I said, okay, Scott, I don't want to look at this anymore. And he panned back over to the stage. And then I looked over on the left side of the bear, Freddy. And I looked over and I said, hey, Scott, wasn't there a bunny on stage with him? And he said, yeah, there was. Where's Bon? And then we saw what appeared to be Bon with his big bunny ears standing on the camera in that creepy hallway. And then we panned back to the stage and we saw that creepy bear look right at the camera, jaw open. And then we heard and we looked back at the hallway and we saw that creepy bunny shifting his weight from one side of his body to the other. And it looked like a demonic kind of hopping. And he appeared to be mockingly hopping his way towards us. And I immediately locked the door. And I locked the door that was outside of us. And then there was a light switch on the side of the door that illuminated the area that was outside the door, and I turned it. And Scott said, "Wait, stop, Ethan, don't do that, because the boss is a notorious cheapskate. He is going to be up on my ass when he finds out that the power bill is as high as it is. He's a big cheapskate." And I didn't care. All I cared about was I saw that bunny and the creepy hopping it was doing. The hopping from hell. I never thought a purple bunny could be so scary in my life. But you do not judge me until you have seen it before. You do not judge me. You do not know how scary it was because you were not there. But that bunny, with its head bobbing side to side and its creepy expression, its jaw hung open and its eyes fixed directly on mine. And I knew we were, or at least I thought we were safe behind that door. And then I asked Scott, and to my horror, I I noticed that that weird chicken thing was also off the stage. And I saw, and I demanded that Scott find it, and that chicken thing, it was in the dining room where we ate, and it was standing near the exact same booth we were eating at. And it turned its head to us, beak wide open, and eyes in a cocked-looking smile staring right at the camera. And as if on cue, let out a high-pitched feminine, "I see you!" It was a high-pitched, creepy voice keeping on saying, "I see you. I see you. It's me." And even Scott was shaking, standing there, utterly shaking. And I looked over at Scott and I said, "Okay, I think I got all the proof that I need. Let's get the fuck out of here." And he said, no, please, Ethan, I need you to put on that Fred head, and I need you to go walk out there and pretend to be a spare animatronic. We have one of those. Please, Ethan, you gotta go out there, and you got to go out there, and you got to investigate this one animatronic suit that nobody uses anymore, because I got a feeling that there's something or someone in there. But and then I said, wait, hold on, Scott. How about you put on the Fred head, I stay here, and you investigate that creepy suit that you were talking about? And I said, no, Ethan, please. They know me. They know my body type. They're going to know it's me, but they won't know it's you. They're going to think that you're one of them. And all you have to do is walk back into that closet behind the stage and check on this golden bear suit. Or it's more of a yellowish color. But please, Ethan, I beg you. All you have to do is that one thing, and I will let you go. Please. And make sure you get it on camera, okay? And I said, okay, but how about... Why aren't you doing it? Because I feel pretty confident that even if they do know you, you can still, put on the Fred head and be okay, and you seem like you know what to do. And he said, oh, well, Ethan, I'm scared. Please, Ethan. You only need to do one thing. Free these 5 children, Ethan. Please. And I said, all right, okay, I'll do it. All right, okay, good. Now, turn that camera on and put on the Fred head, and thank God you're wearing your brown leather jacket, because, the bear's brown. All right, okay. All right, and once you get to that yellow bear suit, all you have to do is you got to reach in the area in between the shoulder and the head, and there's going to be this little crank that you pull, and you got to twist it, and you got to pull it, and its chest cavity will come open, okay? And then you should see if something inside. And then I said, wait, Scott, if you think there's something inside the chest cavity, or someone inside the chest cavity, how come you haven't checked for yourself? And he said, well, Ethan, I'm scared. It's too late now. You already volunteered. Okay. Now, I had to go out of the door and make sure the coast was clear. So I turned on the light and that it wasn't the bunny this time. This time it was that chicken, and that chicken was pounding, and I mean pounding on the door. And then I screamed, Scott, what do we do? And I said, it's okay. We just gotta hide a little bit. We gotta hide behind the desk, and I promise she'll go away. I've seen this before. What do you mean you've seen this before? Do you do this every night? And he said, well, maybe not every night, but yeah, I do it a lot. And then, so we just, now, it's worth mentioning, I'm not gay, but I held on to Scott for a little bit because I didn't know if we was going to make it. And I get back up, my Fred head in hand, and I look outside, and she's gone. Okay. And so I put on the Fred head, make sure my brown leather jacket is zipped up, and I start walking outside. And I don't run, I walk, because the animatronics don't run, they walk. Unless we're talking about Foxy, but I don't want to think about how he walks. And it was creepy as hell being in that thing, because when you have, like, that thing on your head, like, you can see, like, the big nose, the big mouth, but it's like your eyes are like, the bear's eyes are like 6 inches away from your eyes. So you can only see out of medium-sized holes that are 6 inches from your face. And you have to walk real slow, especially because you're in the dark. And then I hear that sound again. And it's that bunny again doing that creepy hop. And I look at it, and that bunny looks slowly at me, looks away, and keeps on hopping. And then I see that creepy chicken, barnyard, bird, duck, whatever you want to call it. And it looks right at me and gives me a hearty wave. I don't know why I would do that, but okay. This place is weird. And then I finally walked to the stage. And that big brown bear was still there. And he looked down at me and stared me right through with his dark robot eyes. And those dark robot eyes, it was like something inside me opened up, and it felt like, you know when somebody looks at you and they're real mad at you and they make eye contact with you and you can just feel their anger? Yeah, that's what it felt like when this bear was staring at me. And I gently tiptoed all the way past him. And I'm telling you, as I walked past him, his head spun all the way around to look at me. And then I finally made my way into the area that was behind the stage. And now I had to look for the yellow bear outfit. And I saw it. And I don't know why, but this yellow bear, it was in this strange ray of light, an unnatural ray. And it started twitching, like seizing, like moving unnaturally, like shaking, and it just started I don't know what it was doing. It tried to move, but it didn't have a robot skeleton in it. So it just thrashed and thrashed. And I know that the GoPro was recording this, but I still can't bring myself to watch the horrible movements it was doing. And so I walk right towards it, and the closer I get, the stiller it gets, until I reach in, and I do exactly as Scott told me. And I reach down into the bear's chest, and I felt something. It felt like, I don't know how it felt like, a kind of a fuzzy feeling, like when you're petting a dog and you feel the dog's hair. It was like hair. And if you press down a little bit, you could feel something hard, and oh my God. And then a voice appeared right in my shoulder and said, "Creepy, isn't it? So you figured it out, huh?" And there he was, that creepy old man in the purple jacket. And he said, "Oh, so you figured it out, didn't you?" Ooh. Well, I'm sorry, but you only found one of the bodies. You can't find the others. They're hidden somewhere where you're never, ever going to find them. And he kind of just waltzed and he danced away, and I wish that I like tackled him or grabbed him or threw him to the ground. But no, I didn't. I watched him just waltz away and get in his purple, what looked like to be a purple Mercury Montego. And he started his car up, and in the back of the car I could see what appeared to be a bunny ears, but they were yellow bunny ears. I asked myself why I didn't just throw myself on him and start beating him like I did to Dr. Eugenic. But I don't know why. I guess I felt weird about just beating him in a Fredbear suit. But I lifted the Fred head off, and the rage boiled up inside me, and I ran right after that purple car. And thankfully he wasn't driving very fast, because he was in a parking lot and he was trying to get out, and I quickly ran behind him, and I busted the front of his front window and grabbed him and pulled him out, and he screamed, "Foxy!" and I see that creepy fox running towards me, and its creepy run, and its hook hand stretched out, and its scream, its god-awful roar or snarl or growl, whatever you want to call it. And then I know that the hook hand is about to fall on me, so I grab it and I punch that fox right in the center of its robot skeleton. But even with my enhanced strength, thanks to that miracle cure that Dr. Eugenic gave me, it still hurt. And then I hear that old man pull out a switchblade and stab me stabbed me right in the back, and I quickly elbow him in the face, and I go to hit him one more time, but the fox grabs me and lifts me in the air. And then the old man smiles and says, "Why don't you show him to your friends, Foxy?" And he drives away. And then Foxy is dragging me back in. And my back was still bleeding from the cut, but it was healing. It was healing. It was healing, and all thanks to Dr. Eugenic's miracle cure. Oh, what a curse that would be. And then Foxy brings me in front of his 3 animatronic buddies and leaves me in front of them. And I say, "Look, well, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but according to Scott and according to most of the horror movies that I watch, you guys are trapped in the animatronic suits." And before I can finish, Freddy grabs me by the throat and picks me up. And then Foxy, he gets that hook around my head to hold me straight. And I don't know what the animatronics were going to do, but I have to kick. I kick hard. And then eventually they let me go. And I think about fighting because I just kicked free of them, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like, first off, I don't know if my fist could take beating straight up metal. And second of all, these things are probably the last vessels that these children are in. And I'm not sure if taking the genie out of those bottles would be a good idea. So I run straight back into the office, and I bust down that door, and I said, "Scott, we gotta go." And he said, "Right there with you." And so we run out, and we run right past the animatronics. And I made sure to defend Scott. I defended Scott with my fist. And all I had to do was put my fist in front of him and made sure the animatronics could see my fist. And then they just stood there, lifelessly stood there. And then we got in Scott's car and said, "Okay, Scott, you did get all the footage, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I just need the GoPro. Can you go back and go get it?" All right, okay. And so I run back in there, and I run backstage, and then I see that fox again, and I punch it in its only good eye, and that enrages it, and it slashes its claw, its hook at me again, and then as soon as I pick up that Fred head, thank God that Dr. Eugenic put that miracle cure serum in me. And so I book it into Scott's car, and I tell him to drive like a mob driver, and he goes. And it was like, I don't know, something was keeping those animatronics in there. I don't know, was it their program or was it something spiritual? And it was the early morning hours when we showed up to Scott's house, and his wife came out, and her name was Claire. And Claire said, Who the hell is there at 5:30 in the goddamn morning?" And she said, Scott said, it's me. And this is the friend, Ethan, I was telling you about." And she said, "Oh, Ethan, did you get the proof that Scott was talking about?" And I raised up the Fred head, and said, "Oh yeah, I think we got plenty of proof in this head." The next morning, I worked tirelessly to upload this to my channel. And almost as soon as it came out, the full edited version at least, it was a smash hit. It got over 1 million views in a few months. By the end of 2014, it had 2 or 3 million views. And I did make some ad revenue off that. I don't want to brag or nothing, but I made quite a little bit. And then, after that, we showed our evidence to the police. We showed Afton. I later found out his name was Afton, William Afton. We showed him the confession we got on camera. And we told the police where to look. And sure enough, they found the body of this one kid. It was too mangled up to tell who they were. The kid that was in the yellow bear costume, he or she was too mangled up to be identified. But the 4 others that were also recovered from the animatronic suits, they were identified. And no, I don't want to say who they were out of respect to the families. But I am glad that they got closure. And I am glad that afterwards, a great sense of accomplishment and a great sense of, well, I guess moving on had enveloped that location in Austin. And it was closed, unsurprisingly, very shortly after this event. And Scott came forward with it, and after getting some advice with me, and also naming me as a co-plaintiff, we sued Fredbear Entertainment. And they coughed up a couple million for Scott, and I don't want to say how much for me. And yeah, I get 100% royalties from I got 100% royalties from the little video we made of little Freddy's here. Although that video came out over 11 years ago, so no, I don't get any more ad revenue from that anymore because it came out over 11 years ago. And yeah, I actually heard that they're making a movie about what we did there. But at the time, Mr. Afton did get away. But don't worry, I think him and his bunny suit will turn up one day.